Thanks for being here today. As you're coming in, feel where in the chat you're zooming in from today, and we'll go ahead and get started. So, welcome to Pacific U and Student Life and Wellbeing. My name is Lauren, and I am one of our admissions counselors here at Pacific. I cover the territory of Southern California, Colorado, and the Bend area as well. And we are so happy to have you all here to learn more about student life at Pacific, especially during such a busy time, during your lunch hour or maybe afternoon hour, depending on where you are. We really appreciate you taking the time to be here today. And I will pass it to Derek to go over a little bit more.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to learning a little bit about student life and well-being here at Pacific University. Just so you know, it is being recorded because this is a convenient and inconvenient time for everyone. So we are going to record this so people can watch this video later on. We're going to have some amazing colleagues here at Pacific to talk a little bit about student life, living on campus, what your well-being and health center is going to be like here on campus, and all those things that are going to be sitting here for your students. So if you do have any questions, we are absolutely going to open it up. So you are more than welcome to put those into the chat. All of our presenters can see those. You can send them to Lauren or myself directly if you don't want to say it out loud. And it's a smaller group. So if you'd like to just turn on your microphone when we ask if there's any questions and ask them, we are more than happy to chat with you. We do ask that you keep your video off, though, just so that when this is recorded and shared later, we don't all get to see you in person. So with that, I get the pleasure of introducing Andra Dennis, who is our Associate Director of Campus Living, to come and talk to us a little bit about student life and living on campus. So Andra, I'll turn it over to you.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Derek, and thank you all of you for having me today. I'm excited to be with you. I'm going to start the screen share. So let's get that going. And okay, can I get a thumbs up if you can see it? Admissions, thank you so much. Okay, great. So I'm so excited to talk with you, prospective students, about your guide to living on campus. This is such an integral part of the Pacific experience, and we're excited for you to start that journey. Okay, so let me get into the slides. There we go. One of the questions that might really be on your mind is, where can I live? So there are three main areas that first-year students live in. So we're going to talk about those three areas and talk about some of the details that you'll want to know. The first hall we'll talk about is McCormick Hall. So this hall has a huge welcoming lounge where lots of students like to hang out in the middle. There are 4 floors. This is mostly double rooms. So all three of the halls that we're going to talk about are what we call community style. That means that they mostly have bedrooms that are shared and then a community style bathroom that you share with the people on your floor. That is true of McCormick. McCormick is one of our oldest buildings on campus. So it's got a really fun historic feel, and our rooms are really unique in McCormick. So those are some of the things that help it stand out. Cascade is another 4-floor community style hall. So it does have lounges specifically on each floor. It has 2 laundry rooms. It is also mostly double rooms. Both McCormick and Cascade are freshman through senior halls, which means that you might be in the hall with people who are from a different class than you are, and that can be really fun. I will also then move to talking about Walter, which is our primarily first-year hall. So this is the hall that most students can expect to have a placement in. It is so fun to live in Walter. This is where so many of our students say they built their lifelong friendships, because this is where they made some of those friends at Pacific. There are 3 floors. It is also mostly double rooms, lots of places to study and hang out, and a nice big kitchen to share. And then one of the big pluses that students talk about in Walter is that everybody has a huge closet with doors above your closet. So you can see a little bit of that in the picture. But storage and lots of good community are definitely some of the things that students talk about after living in Walter. Okay, so here are some of the details here. All of our residence halls are very close to your classes, so you will not need to worry about a long walk to your classes. They all include free laundry. You just need to bring the detergent and the dryer sheets. And each one has a printer and copier. We have multiple vacuums for every hall, and we also make sure that all of the lounges have some fun things to do, whether that's air hockey or ping pong. Some of the halls have pool tables, lots of ways for you to gather with your friends and have a good time. So it's good for you to have some info on our language. We call them doubles, which are shared rooms. They are the same price in all three halls. So you don't have to worry about which hall is going to cost the most. Those double rooms all cost the same. And then transfer students may be assigned to other halls, space pending, because what we really work on at Pacific is peer placement. So we try to make sure that you're going to live with people that are experiencing something similar to you. If you're a transfer student and have experienced another school, we want to make sure that you are living with other people that are in that same peer group. Okay. We do have a campus living requirement. This is a requirement, and we really see this as a developmental opportunity for you all. We love students living on campus. You're required to live on for 4 full semesters, and to have a full meal plan during those 4 semesters unless you qualify for an exemption. We do have lots of students that live locally, and so that comes up as a question. So I'll move into talking a little bit about exemptions. Exemptions are possible for marriage, for caring for a child dependent, or if you are living with an immediate family member within 20 miles, immediate family member being defined as a parent or a sibling. So if you have questions about that, you're welcome to reach out to us, and we're happy to answer those more individually because specifics can really make a difference in your situation. Okay, now we're going to talk about how to apply for housing. So good news, it's really easy to do. Once you've deposited, you will get to set up your Boxer ID and your password. You will complete the online housing app by June 11th, and then you'll find a roommate. So it's really just 3 steps to get you going. We don't want those to be intimidating at all. We want you to feel like you're confident and ready to take on those steps. Let's see what's next. Okay, great. You know what? I'm going to go back for a second. Just to talk about that online housing app, it is in eRes Life. As soon as you deposit, you're going to start getting emails about how to complete that with links. So, excuse me, you'll just want to pay attention to those emails as they start coming through to your Boxer account. Great. Let's talk about housing accommodations. If you have a disability-related housing need, you should register with the Office of Accessibility and Accommodations as soon as you're able. So you can go to their website and get that process started. We would recommend not waiting on that. Great. I'm gonna grab a quick sip of water. Okay. Here's a little bit more about the process. You are going to get to list your preferences and roommate preferences and hall preferences in your housing application. Then we take all of that and accommodations into account, and we work to find you the right placement and send that out in early July. Okay. Meal plans are another big part of your experience on campus because everybody's got to eat. So all incoming students are going to be signed up for Boxer 21. This is all of the meals that you can see listed there. You'll be able to switch to another full plan during the first 2 weeks if you'd prefer to have some more declining balance, but all of those full meal plans are at the same price. And you can add on Boxer Bucks, which function really like declining balance, kind of like a debit card, to any of those plans. Sorry. Okay. So moving in is the next big exciting part. This happens in August. We spend the summer getting ready, getting excited for you. And then August 28th is when move-in really starts and orientation. That is the last Friday in August. So we'll be working ahead to get ready for you. Fall athletes often have some earlier move-in dates. So those will be announced via your coaches, and you'll kind of coordinate that with them, but we'll have your spaces ready for you to go. Okay, here's the next big thing that people want to talk about is what can I bring, right? These are great questions. We have this list right here. We also have this listed on our website because we know that you might reference it today and you might need to reference it a whole bunch of times through the summer. That's great. So, the big thing to know are the important things to bring, but also some of the things that you have access to right now, you are going to want to leave at home. That includes unapproved animals. It does include an AC unit. So, some of our buildings do have air conditioning. We work really hard to have cooling units through the rest of the buildings, and it's just good for you to have these lists so you know what you should bring and what maybe should stay at home instead. Okay, here we go. Look at these fun pictures of move-in day. It's a really exciting time. We can't wait to get there. I know it feels like a long way away right now, but it will be here before we know it. Okay, along the way, we want to make sure that you know that you will have support and that we're here to help. We're here to help now and once you move in. So once you move in, you'll get to meet your area coordinator. These area coordinators are professional live-in staff. They supervise all of the buildings. And then you each will have a resident assistant. So every student who lives on campus has an RA. That RA at Pacific works specifically to get to know you, to support your experience at Pacific. And then you also have access to campus public safety 24/7. So they are always here as a backup, and we want to make sure that you have lots of layers of support while you're living on at Pacific. Okay, some of the things that I think are helpful to know is that we're going to help you get connected and meet those lifelong friends right away. So you'll have hall hangouts on your first night on campus. That means that every residence hall hosts an event so that you can get to know other people. It's a great way to kind of break some of that awkward feeling and work through some of those moments so that you really start feeling connected because you're all doing it at the same time. We do roommate success plans, which help you to set up really realistic expectations for your room about whether you're cleaning things up, who's allowed to come in, who's not, all of those kinds of things. So those can really help your roommate relationship succeed right from the jump. So we will help you with that. And so will your RA. And then we'll be having lots of hall events and activities, as well as promoting ways for you to get involved through clubs and student orgs, and lots of ways for you to get connected. The most important part is that you do it. So I know that it will feel kind of intimidating at different moments, but I want you to hear consistently now and through orientation that we're here to help you make those connections. And that'll continue through the year too. Okay, so that is really the end of my slides. So just really want to encourage you all. You've got this. You've done so much work to get to this point, and we cannot wait for you to be Boxers living on campus. In this transitional timeline, you're always welcome to reach out to us with questions. We're campus living at pacificu.edu. We're happy to schedule a phone call or a Zoom call. We can answer questions via email. Mostly, we just want you to know that we're here to help as you make this transition.
Awesome. Thank you, Andra. Does anyone who is here today have any questions specifically for Andra outside of the ones that got sent to me directly? Okay. Well, I will ask the couple that came into me. Again, you are more than welcome to put them into the chat. Ask out loud. We are glad to answer those. Or like some of you did, you can send them directly to me and I will just pass them on. So one is a kind of a general question, and that is, what do the rooms come furnished with? So you talked about what to bring, but what's already there for the students?
Yeah, such a great question. Okay, so there is an extra long twin bed, and you'll want to note that size so that you get the sheets that fit the extra long mattress, right? There is a desk chair, and then some sort of dresser setup. So our Walter rooms have 2 drawers that go under the bed. Our Cascade rooms have a standalone wardrobe. McCormick rooms have a built-in wardrobe with dresser drawers. So it varies a little bit, but the idea is that every student is going to have a bed, a place to study, and a place to store their clothes. So we work really hard to make sure that those are all available to you.
Awesome. And then another question that came in was just more of a clarification. So just to be sure, clear for everyone, when they get the information about housing, it's going to come to their Pacific University email address, correct?
Yes, it sure is. Thank you for that clarification, Derek. So This is like maybe one of the most difficult pieces of this transition actually is logistical, and it's switching from using your personal email to using your Pacific U email, because once you're deposited, then the university sees you as a student and starts communicating with you like you are a student, which then means using your Pacific email for everything. So I really recommend turning your push notifications on for it, so that way you're ready to go right from the start and you get information like housing assignments right away.
And just so you all know, that's also things like advising, orientation is going to come there. So students should absolutely start checking their Pacific email as soon as they get it set up, and it should be one of the first things they do after they deposit. So Andrew, one more question that came into me just was a little bit about RAs. So they wanted to know like how are RAs selected, when can a student become one, and they wanted to know a little bit about like at Pacific, is it something that you don't have enough people, so you're always filling them, or is it something that's kind of competitive? I think they kind of want to know a little bit more about how are the RAs selected and are they good RAs?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I will say working with the RAs is my favorite part of the job. So I used to be an area coordinator. So when I started at Pacific, my job was specifically working with RAs. They are a great team. So what we do is we run a selection process in January of every year. So, and that process in January is for the upcoming school year. So your RAs for next year have already been selected. We have a full team. They're really qualified and excited. They are then trained in August. So before you all arrive on campus, RAs come and they get trained for about 2 weeks. And then we really jump into the year. So for prospective students that are thinking about, like, maybe I want to become an RA, awesome. The opportunity to apply for that will be the January of your first year at Pacific. You can apply every single year. We'd love to have you. A lot of our RAs continue for multiple years, but that first January is going to be your opportunity to get your foot in the door and say, I would love to do this. One of the things that we require is that you live on campus prior to becoming an RA, because it really sets you up for success to understand what your residents are experiencing and to be able to offer them support. So that said, if you really want to be an RA, one of my best pieces of advice is to connect with your RA when you get to campus, start building that relationship, seeing what they're doing, learning more about how they approach residents on the hall, because then you can start implementing that learning early on.
And then, sorry, the questions are coming in, which is great. So one was just, what is the email again to reach out to? So I will put that into the chat, but it's campusliving@pacificu.edu. And then one parent just wanted a little more clarification. I love this question. Wait, so the laundry is free?
Yes, it is. I feel like this is such a big selling point. So no quarters, no debit card needed for this situation. So the laundry is included for everybody that lives on campus. So that is both the community style halls that I talked about, but also as you kind of move into some of our more apartment style housing, as you progress through Pacific, laundry is also free in those buildings. So all you need to do is bring your detergent and your dryer sheets. I really recommend the pods because they make your life easier, or if you're a parent, they make your students' life a lot easier and less messy. So I highly recommend that, but it is free for everyone. And we really, really encourage that students take advantage of that and do their laundry.
Perfect. Well, I'll open up just one last time. If any of the families on here today have any last questions, please feel free to send them to the chat or to Lauren or myself real quick. Otherwise, we are going to turn it back over to Lauren to introduce the second half of today.
Yes, thank you so much for joining us, Andra. It was a pleasure to have you learning more about what it's like living on campus. And we can't wait to have you all move in the fall. Super exciting. So now we've chatted a little bit about housing. We'd love to talk to you more about student health and counseling. So I'm going to pass it over to Graham Turner, our Assistant Director of Student Wellbeing in the Student Counseling Center, and Perla Andrade, the Director of Student and Employee Health Center, to chat more about health and wellness on campus.
Wonderful. Thank you, Lauren. Well, welcome, folks. I'm just making sure Perla's with us. Okay, hi, Perla. Perla and I are here to talk a little bit about student well-being and some of the services that are offered. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to share my screen so you folks can meet our teams and get to know some of the options that are available to you. Can I just see a quick thumbs up that you're seeing? Okay, all right. So we're going to go over the Student and Employee Health Center and the Student Counseling Center. Please feel free. You can drop questions to Perla or I, Lauren or Derek, right in the chat, whatever works best for you folks. And we're here to answer those questions. First off, though, we want you to introduce you to our team. So I'm going to pass it over to Perla, who will introduce the Student Employee Health Center.
Well, hi everyone, welcome. Thank you for joining us. So my name is Perla Andrade and I'm the director of the Student Health Center. And this is our team. We do have two providers on site. They share locations. So we have Dr. Melanie Doak, and then we also have Kaylee Barfield. She is our physician assistant. We do have 3 medical assistants and 2 front desk coordinators. And that's our staff here. We're, like Graham says, we're a small team, but we're mighty.
I realize, yes, I'm the assistant director for student well-being, and this actually has my previous title. So I also do, part of my job is mental health promotion. This is our counseling center team, also small but mighty. We have Dr. Stallings, who is not only the director of the campus, the student counseling center, but is the dean of student well-being. Our associate director, Sarah Buchanan, and then our clinical staff are Keiko, Jaya, Amanda, and Angie. So Sarah and then the clinical staff are the folks who see students as therapists. We also work with our School of Graduate Psychology. So we have graduate interns who work in our Forest Grove clinic. It's an extremely valuable experience for them. So we function kind of as a teaching clinic as well. Angela Surratt here, who goes by Angie as well, is our front office coordinator. And when students talk to the counseling center, she's almost always the first person they talk to. She has also been at Pacific for many years and is a deep well of knowledge about all things on campus. And then that's myself, and my job covers a couple different areas, which include general mental health promotion, alcohol and other drug and substance education and harm reduction, as well as suicide prevention and postvention. The Counseling Center has offices in both Forest Grove and in Hillsborough as well.
Okay, so now to talk about our health center services. So we function just as any primary care office. We are here to offer support for our students in anything that is health related, um, like annual wellness visits, sports physicals, cold, flu symptoms, immunizations, medication management. So if you have a prescription from a provider that can only be filled by a provider in the state, we will be happy to take care over the prescribing. Of course, we need to have records and have you transfer care, but we can do anything that you can be seen at any doctor's office. We offer labs on site, and unfortunately, we don't have a pharmacy, so we typically send students to the closest pharmacy, which is Safeway, just a couple, well, maybe it's less than a mile, about a mile from campus, and there's public transportation to take you there for free. Yeah, so anything that you need, this is just a short list of services that we offer, but if there's anything that you don't see here, just give us a call and we'll be happy to answer those questions.
And I'm going to speak a little bit about counseling center services. Oh, sorry. I
Oh,
totally
yeah, I'm
preempted
sorry.
you, Perla. No, it's okay.
So we, like I said, we function just as any other doctor's office. So we do bill insurance. Unfortunately, our services are not free. We do bill insurance. This is the insurances that we participate with. Something that it's worth clarifying is that we do participate with Kaiser, but we can only bill Kaiser, Oregon, and Southwest Washington. So if your student comes from Hawaii and they have a visitor's number, unfortunately, we cannot see them and bill Kaiser. They will have to go to the closest Kaiser clinic, which is about 10 miles from campus. So that's something worth looking into, because sometimes you're thinking, well, it's I'm a healthy student. I don't need anything, but accidents can happen, and you can get colds, flus, and you might need treatment. So just look at your insurance. It's not just for you to be seen at the health center, but you want to make sure that if you're seen at any doctor's office, that your coverage would be accepted in Oregon. We do have two offices, one in Forest Grove and one in Hillsborough. We're over here on campus, just right next to the admissions office. And we share the same building, different doors, but we share the same building with Counseling Center. And then in Hillsborough, we're 2 blocks away from the campus, and we share the same office there with Counseling Center.
Okay, here we go. Counseling Center supports that are available. So the Counseling Center offers consultation, and that's consultation to students, faculty, and staff. And it sometimes parents will even call in if they have a question. We provide urgent and crisis services, as well as ongoing short-term counseling. What that looks like is we offer a short-term model because demand for services is pretty high. So if a student is identifying that maybe they want to see someone long-term, like year after year, and go weekly, we're typically going to be looking to refer them off campus. But all counseling center services are free of charge. When students do attend counseling, on average, they're coming for about 6 sessions in general. And we also do things like community engagement and training. I did a training yesterday that's kind of like a version of mental health first aid. I work with a lot of our graduate programs. We have a workshop coming up next week on perfectionism and procrastination. We're working with our academic and career advising because we find, students are sometimes struggle with those things, but we want to really help folks see like it's both time management and managing some of the emotions associated with like learning and the challenges that come with learning at a collegiate level. We run support groups and workshops like I was just describing earlier in February. The Pacific Northwest, if you're not familiar, can be a little dreary in the winter, and some folks experience some seasonal changes. And we held like a seasonal affective disorder cave. So it was like this like cozy, nice cave. We had therapy lights and weighted blankets, fidgets, and things like that. And then really a frequently utilized service that we have is drop-in. So there are drop-in services at noon, Monday through Friday at both offices, as well as via teletherapy. And that's for folks who maybe they're curious about connecting to counseling. Maybe they didn't realize that they wanted to connect to counseling, but they're having a particularly hard time. Or even if they have an ongoing therapist and they're like, I'm really struggling today, folks can just drop in and expect to see a counselor within that noon hour. The university also offers a 24/7 crisis and support line through the Student Counseling Center that is available to all students 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. That coverage also extends internationally when students travel abroad as well. When folks call that line, they can expect to talk to a licensed mental health professional, and it also assists with wraparound care at the university. It is important. I just want to reiterate, like all counseling center services are free of charge and they're confidential. I think sometimes students, especially as they're transitioning into university, this might be, and Perla, this happens with Perla as well. Sometimes students are making their very first medical appointment. We really like to emphasize that there are some things that allow the counseling center to breach a student's confidentiality, but they're very, very narrow. And it happens sometimes. Parents, family members sometimes will be like, they'll call and be like, we want to know if our student's coming in today, or have you seen them recently? And in the nicest and gentlest way possible, we can't tell you that. That is part of the transition that your student is going through as they become a young adult here on our campus. And if you want that level of communication, you can talk to your student about signing releases that allow that. But in general, the services that they receive are confidential. There are multiple different ways to set up counseling center services. They'll hear about, and I think there are probably students on the call as well, you'll hear about ways to access counseling center services during orientation. And it can be accessed via email. We do a fair amount of social promotion on Instagram. We have a scheduling QR code and link. So people, you don't, to do that initial scheduling connection, you don't have to talk to anybody or send any emails. You just scan this QR code. It sends you right to the intake form. And again, we have 2 different locations as well as teletherapy offerings as well. The only limitation for teletherapy is that the student must be in the state of Oregon at the time of the session. We do have students who like live across the river in Vancouver, and I think folks like drive over and sit in a Target parking lot if they need to do that and they're away from campus for a couple of days. If you folks are interested in following the Counseling Center, you can see some of our offerings. It's just Pacific University SCC on Instagram. I'm going to be very transparent with you. I am the person who's in charge of our Instagram, and I occasionally get students to help me because I am old. So then when I produce Counseling Center things, I think I'm being very hip and with it, and the students just kind of shake their heads and they're like, "Nice try, buddy." So you can probably tell the difference between things that I generate and things that students have helped me create. One thing that we've been sharing on Instagram recently is we built out our first sensory room. So we just built out a brand new sensory room here in Forest Grove. We're adding one in Hillsborough as well. And that's a program that is, or a resource that's available for all students, faculty, and staff. And in particular is a space curated to assist students with emotional and physical regulation. So it's has acoustic tiling, a bunch of different seating and lighting options, fidgets, and ways to connect to other resources as well. I'm going to advance. Oh, I think that is our presentation for today. I'm going to stop sharing. And one other thing that I don't know your admission staff may have shared with you, but the university is pursuing designation as an autism inclusive campus. Oh, I see nods. Have you already shared about it? Am I being redundant? Oh, okay. So I'm going to share. The Campus Autism Network is a emergent professional and advocacy network. And Pacific is one of 7 universities that's part of their pilot program of pursuing this designation as an autism inclusive campus. So I sit on that task force and we're excited to be engaging with that. Other than that, Perla, anything else that you wanted to make sure you had time to add?
Yes, I forgot to mention that also the health center manages the immunization requirement for the university. So all students are required to submit 2 proofs of measles vaccinations. It is not a university requirement, but it is a state requirement. And we unfortunately had some measles outbreaks in the state of Oregon this year. So I am sure that we are going to be more persistent when you're trying to join the university. We do need to have those records. What happens is that if you don't turn them in to us to be tracked, then you won't be able to register for classes for the following semester. So with the recent outbreak, we're working on a policy to improve the way we get immunizations to us, but it is very important that you submit those. And if you're in a graduate program, they have separate requirements. They use My Record Trackers, so yes, you do have to submit them twice. If your program requires the immunization records, you submit them to your program, but then you also submit them to the health center because, like I said, it's a state requirement. Thank you.
Thank you both. That was amazing. And Graham, I'm sure your Instagram posts are great, so don't sell yourself short.
Thank you.
So I did have a few questions come in for both of you in the chat. Perla, the first one is for you. Can you talk to me a little bit more about appointment turnaround times and also if you're open on the weekends? And if not open on the weekends, where do you direct students for care?
So turnaround times, most of the time, unless it's fall, we have appointments available same day, if not the next day. But I'd say unless it's fall because we have a lot of athletes here coming in for their sports physicals. So we do get pretty busy the first 2-3 weeks of the winter or fall term. But turnaround time is usually same day or next day. And we are not open on the weekends, but there is an urgent care just a few blocks away. So that's where we like our students to go. There's also a couple other urgent cares in Hillsborough, but the closest to us would be Best Med. It's just maybe 1.5 miles from campus.
Perfect. Thank you. My next question is for Graham. Somebody messaged about what services does the counsel and support does the counseling center offer during really high stress times of year, like move-in, midterms, and finals?
Yes, great question. So there's a variety of move in and like drop off is an intense procedure. And I like you'll see the counseling center, the health center is there too, but like counseling center is at most orientation programming. And we kind of split our attention between we've got helping students navigate that. And like I do a lot of training. Andrew was talking earlier about RAs. I do a lot of training with RAs. I also work with our student orientation leaders to talk about how we support students through this transition. And to be fully honest, we also do a fair amount of support for parents. We do some programming of like parents can write a transition letter to their child to be delivered later in the semester. We talk to them more about mental health resources. So that transition's a really big one. And it's also kind of funny too, because you have people who are like, get out of my way. I'm ready to move in. I want to be here. And then you have folks who might be struggling a little bit more with, it's a really big step. And a lot of folks are moving in between those things. Throughout the year, so the Counseling Center intentionally schedules its workshops to happen frequently before even midterms, because we know that after midterms, people are beginning to ramp into final season. So we want people to be equipped before they get to those points. And because we know that those are stressful, on both campuses, we feature a recharge, which is like just after mid-semester. And this year for Forest Grove, we're still finalizing the plan, but we're bringing either a llama or tiny little baby goats. We're going to have goodies and popcorn and cotton candy. We put out all of our like best fidgets and goodies so folks can put together like a little care kit. We also then do a reading day. So if you're not familiar, reading day is the day between the end of classes and the start of finals. So the campus is pretty quiet. Students are doing a fair amount of studying. And again, we usually bring in animals. We brought in Cascade Canine Crisis Response. They're certified therapy dogs. So we had a whole bunch of therapy dogs show up last year. Baby goats again. The goats are popular. They're like tiny little baby goats. They're adorable. And we provide some food, music, stuff like that. This year we're expanding that a fair amount actually to work with our ACE board, which is a student-led activities board. So we're making, and I mean, it's still being planned, but I'm like, this spring for reading day, we're gonna have like it's like a Build-A-Bear station. Like there's folks coming in to like make your own stuffed animal. So hey, you never know. And then over the week of finals, the Counseling Center partners with a whole bunch of other campus partners, including the Student and Employee Health Center, to do one like drop-in support activity every day of over the week of finals. And those are meant to be like really low barrier, super easy access, and they're usually kind of fun. Like one of them was I can't call them Legos because they're not branded Legos, but we had like building block sets that students could take and keep. We did hot chocolate one morning and just posted up in the middle of campus and passed out hot chocolate and pastries from the local panaderia, and it was like delicious. So yeah, I think that's something that we're pretty attentive to. And the Counseling Center works closely with a number of campus partners, one of those being our like the academic supports. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you.
Mhm.
Question is for Perla. So if students need specialists like, PTs, things like that, is the health center available to help coordinate with care with those off-campus specialists?
Yes, we are, and we have several partners that we work with. So yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. And my next question is actually for both of you. So we have tons of students who come into Pacific and they want to be involved in pre-health professions, or maybe they want to be mental health counselors in the future. And we have tons of graduate programs that feed into that. But if students want to be involved in health services on campus or mental health services, what opportunities are available for them?
Do you want me to go first, Perla? Yeah.
Sure.
Oh, okay. That is a great question. There are a couple of different avenues. The counseling center under my position, I host not every semester, but most semesters, I have at least one practicum student from our public health or criminal justice law and society program. So those practicums are available. I also run a couple of working groups that cover different areas around mental health, and those are open to students. And that's where students work alongside faculty and staff to advance initiatives across campus. There also are a number of, and I would say for undergraduate students, one of the best places to plug in are pre-professional clubs. So there's a pre-public health club. So that might be folks who are thinking of going on to get their master's in public health. Those are excellent resources. And then I just partnered up with we have a Pacific University Psychology Society, which is a group of undergraduate psychology students. And I just worked with them to host a suicide prevention training. So there are student orgs on campus. We also have a chapter of Hidden Opponent, which is a national athletics mental health organization. And we have a chapter here at Pacific that works to advocate for mental health awareness inside of athletics.
Thank you, Graham. And for the health center, we have had some students come and shadow our PAs and our doctor. But because we're a HIPAA clinic, you do have to go through the HIPAA training, which could be a little exhausting. There are forms that we have to fill out, but yeah, we are definitely open to the opportunity of having students come and shadow.
Perfect. Thank you both. I have one more question for the both of you, and if anyone else has some last minute questions, feel free to throw them in the chat as well. But either one of you can answer first. But what is your best advice to incoming students on staying healthy, whatever that means to you, during their time at Pacific?
I can go first. So, best advice would be stay involved because mental health can get exhausting especially being a new college student. I can speak for my son. He's a freshman this year, so getting used to the routine, things are different than in high school, and so you can get mentally exhausted. So get involved, look for your resources with your insurance plans. You do have a wellness visit that is a free visit, technically, if it's just a wellness visit. So you can take advantage of that. Come see us. If you're feeling tired, maybe you're vitamin deficient, lack of sleep. I mean, there are so many resources on campus, and I would encourage you to take advantage of those resources. I had the opportunity to work with Graham, and it's very fun to see students come during lunch and just debrief for a minute. Um, Pet Henry, hold the baby goats. That is very, very helpful. Especially, I mean, it's not so much about physical health, but the first year is very overwhelming. So you really do need to take care of your mental health. But any physical health needs that you have, come see us. Even if you have a question, if you're not sure, there are no stupid questions. We're all moms here at the health center. So if you need to talk to someone, and really, we've had students just walk in and they're like, I'm just here to say hi. And then they start chatting with us about what's going on. It's really nice to have that connection. Again, if you're missing home, come see us. We'll make you feel better.
I just want to second everything Perla said. And I do think a piece of, I'm not a therapist anymore, but I'm a former therapist and worked with a lot of families. And I think about where people are when they're making this developmental shift into being a young adult and being in college. And I do think a piece of it is the like public health language for it is help-seeking behavior. But help-seeking behavior is really learning how to ask for help, learning to recognize when you need help. And one thing I really appreciate about Pacific is we encourage students to learn help seeking, which is like, hey, when you have an issue, find the folks who are going to help you. And there are a lot of systems here that help students navigate that because it can be a little overwhelming. There are a lot of options. And just as when I think sometimes folks feel self-conscious about doing that is not only do we encourage help seeking, but our systems work through a frame of help giving as well. So there are a lot of opportunities to kind of like take that on ramp into making help, like informed health decisions. And that is part of, I mean, I think back to my undergrad, and it was like the first time I had to be like, I need to get new brakes on my car. Like, and that extended to taking care of myself too. I was like, I have to go to the doctor. Like, what? So it took a little bit to learn to do those things. And the sooner that you learn how to maintain those connections and to care for yourself, I think oftentimes the better the experience will be. And when we think past college, having those are real life skills. Like being able to ask for help and notice when you need help not only helps you personally, it helps you professionally, it helps you in your relationships as well. So I would really just encourage students to be like, make those connections early and use the connections. Like we have an entire campus full of faculty and staff who are here to help, and that's their job. And we love it when students join us in this learning adventure. Yeah.
That was great. Thank you both. Thank you both for joining today. Thank you to Andra as well. And thank you to all the participants, students, supporters who took time out of your busy, busy days to be here. Just so you all know, the recording will be available on our YouTube channel, our Pacific University Admissions YouTube channel. In terms of next steps at Pacific, definitely just stay in touch with your admissions counselor. And just a reminder that May 1 is National Decision Day. So we'd love for you to come join us at Pacific. Awesome. Derek, anything to add before we close out?
Nope, you got it all covered out. So thanks everybody for coming. And Graham and Perla, thank you for joining us as well. Have a great afternoon, everybody.
Bye, everyone. Thank you for joining.